I totally freaked the F out. Between aging parents, menopause, freaking menopause, empty nest, I felt so stuck. It was like this trifecta, and I was beating myself up. So I thought to myself, this is crazy. I've got to figure something out for me so that I can move forward. That was really my moment of clarity that I needed to do something. I needed to make that first step.
It's first steps and taking the risk to reach out, like building that community and just having a voice for people. It's like really courageous, actually. Welcome to the podcast where motherhood meets reinvention. I'm your host, Sharon Macey, and this is Mom to More. I speak with remarkable moms who've embraced the art of reinvention, crafting their more by leveraging the skills they hone as stay-at-home moms. They share their experiences, struggles, and successes as they return to former careers, rediscover old passions, and chart entirely new paths, offering you the motivation and inspiration to help you answer the question, what do you want to do when your kids grow up? Hello, and welcome back to a new episode of Mom to More. Before we dive in, please take a quick second to subscribe to Mom to More. It helps this show, recognized by the Signal Awards as one of the podcasts shaping culture, to reach more moms who are ready for the next chapter. Okay, I want to tell you about a day last spring in New York City. 3 midlife women having lunch, having the best time at the iconic Theater District restaurant, Joe Allen's.
Yeah, we did.
It was time for our off-Broadway play, so we walked to the theater and discovered, to our complete surprise, that the show had closed, just shuttered. So, doing what moms do as well when plans go sideways, we pivoted. We found a cute coffee spot, continued talking, laughing, falling into the type of conversation you don't want to end. We even made some fun content together, soaking up a beautiful spring day in the city. And I drove home thinking, wow, these ladies are my people. This is the energy of today's episode. My guests today are Meghan Caponiti and Kristin Hocker, co-hosts of the brand new podcast, Finding Fabulous. I've known them both for a couple of years now, and what I love most about them, besides the fact that they are genuinely a hoot, is that they represent something I think a lot of us are quietly living. That midlife moment when you look around and realize the next chapter is completely unwritten, and you get to decide what goes in it. Today we talk about how they got there, the stuck feelings, the searching, and why they decided to do this whole thing together. So let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Meghan Caponiti spent the better part of 2 decades showing up for everyone else. 5 kids, a very full house, a life built around being present for her family, which she will be the first to tell you she does not regret for a second. But when her youngest left for college, she found herself in a house that had gotten very quiet, facing an empty nest, aging parents, and something a lot of us know intimately. Who am I when I am not needed in that way anymore? But she didn't spiral. She got curious. She started an Instagram page called Her Next Move, sharing honest, unfiltered reflections on midlife wellness and figuring out what's next. Her audience found her because she wasn't performing. She was just telling the truth. That honesty became the seed of something bigger. Meghan is now the co-creator of the podcast Finding Fabulous, where she talks to women who have found what truly lights them up and brings them joy, energy, and purpose in this next chapter. She's not a coach. She's not an expert, just a woman in her 50s figuring it out. She is also something I think is far more valuable right now. She is you, just about 6 brave steps ahead. Kristin Hocker raised 4 kids in Darien. So between the two of you, we've got 9 kids. I bow down to you.
It's just crazy.
It's a lot.
I mean, I think it's
a lot of kids. And when her youngest was 5, returned to corporate work, built a career in developing professional relationships, fundraising and speaking, and unexpectedly became an advocate for limb loss recovery and adaptive fitness after losing her leg to necrotizing fasciitis. Hopefully I said that properly.
fasciitis. You got it.
Fasciitis, thank you. A flesh-eating bacterial infection, and nearly losing her life to sepsis 12 years ago. She endured a years-long recovery most people could not even fathom. But here is what I will tell you about Kristin. She does not let it slow her down, not figuratively, literally, one leg, 2 crutches. She walked faster than I do on 2 somewhat functional feet in New York City.
I do not know
spring.
about that, Sharon.
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay.
I was having trouble keeping up with her on the New York City streets. She is an indomitable ray of positivity and sunshine. Through her Instagram, Kristin Pecan, everything will be listed in the show notes, guys, and her publishing blog, she built a genuine community around one simple belief: sharing what you know changes lives. She is proof that reinvention isn't always a choice. Sometimes life makes that choice for you. And what you do next is everything. Welcome, Meghan and Kristin. I am so thrilled to have you here in studio today.
Oh, thank you so much for having us. We're so excited to be here.
This is the best.
So fun to see you guys again. Okay, I want to jump in and talk a little about how did you two actually meet?
Great question.
It is a great question. So we'll give a little shout out to Margot. My daughter's boyfriend's mom is and was a good friend of Kristin's. So when I was doing her next moves and I was trying to figure out how I could start interviewing women to find out what their next moves were, Margot gave me Kristin's name. And
Perfect.
funnily enough, I texted her the questions. She ended up calling me. We literally spoke for like an hour and a half. Never did the interview.
No interview, just conversation.
Just, we were so like-minded, and it just sort of evolved from there. So it feels almost serendipitous, right? It's almost like this is meant to be.
Yeah, we love that word. You know, when things just fall together.
Yeah,
Conversation.
absolutely. That's a great story. Thank you for that. So let's talk about our mom journey. Take me back to each of your decisions to become stay-at-home moms. Was that something you always envisioned, or it was just something you just fell into?
So for me, my mom was a stay-at-home mom. So I think in a way it was something that I always envisioned, but you know, I was working in corporate sales and I had started dating my husband freshman year in college. So when he graduated a few years before I did, he lived in New York City while I was in college, and then he got transferred to London. So it made things a little more complicated in the sense that I ended up going to London with him. It was harder to get working papers. I started having kids quite young, and then I proceeded to have my first 3 kids in under 3 years.
Oh my gosh.
So it was a choice and it wasn't a choice. It just was something that evolved. So
Gotcha.
I would say that that's sort of how I ended up being a stay-at-home mom. But looking back, for me, it was the right thing to do to be there for my children, especially when they were young.
Absolutely. Yeah. So for me, I was working 10 years in corporate advertising, and I had my first child. And I just was like going back to work after the maternity leave. And I was sitting there thinking, gosh, if I'm going to babysit people, I might as well be with my baby.
True.
Yeah. Yeah. So I decided to step out, and I decided to be a stay-at-home mom at that point. And then I proceeded to do so with 3 more children. And then fast forward, when my youngest had finished kindergarten, I returned to the workforce.
Gotcha. Because you had that time because she was in school.
Yeah, that's it.
Makes perfect sense. So thinking back, because as we all know, hindsight is 2020. What did those years actually give you? Not sort of the clean resume version, but like highest of highs, lowest of lows, you know, that every mom listening to this can relate to.
I feel like flexibility and resilience. I mean, like this idea that not only are you raising kids for the first time in your life, but you are dealing with other moms, right? So it's a whole different level of building relationships, adult relationships included. Also, I feel like when I did go back to work, I had to build a different kind of resume. It wasn't like based on a timeline anymore. It was more based on what skills did you develop during the time of raising kids? And we all know every skill in the book.
No, I would completely agree. And I also think that when you have kids, it's a lot of unexpected that's thrown your way because you think they're all being raised in the same home. They're all going to be quite similar. But the truth is, my oldest daughter and my second daughter are 14 months apart. They could not be more different. So as a stay-at-home mom, you're with your children all the time. And so there's not always sort of the excitement, and you're not always doing fun things. A lot of times
like
it's the grind.
Groundhog's Day, right?
Exactly. And a lot of times it's the grind. But then I also think sometimes in those quiet moments in like a carpool or something, you're hearing all this information and you're learning a little bit more. about your child every
Yes,
single
you
day.
must drive your children
Oh, absolutely.
around because that's where you get the information.
Yeah.
And those are the memories, right? Those
And to your
conversations.
point, the resilience and all the emotions that are tied into the everyday highs and lows of your children and kind of managing those.
And isn't it
Skill.
astounding how we all know the kids come from the same spot, but they're so vastly different?
Isn't that amazing?
It's
It
extraordinary.
goes back to the nature versus nurture. And you have to believe that they come out a certain way. You can give them values and morals and raise them in a certain way. But when push comes to shove, man, you are not changing.
Right.
It's about recognizing individuality and what
True.
makes them special.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really
in
cool.
particular, our middle daughter came out a certain way, and 29 years later, she is that.
I could not agree more.
Yeah.
Even
Same.
almost down to infancy.
Oh,
You know?
gosh, exactly.
Incredible. Incredible. Hey, ladies, we are going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we are going to be diving into the messy middle with Meghan and Kristin on their reinvention journey. Don't go away. Quick pause to welcome a new local sponsor, Wild Radish Eatery in Nyack, New York. I've been getting their weekly home deliveries, and it's a total game changer, bringing organic, slow-cooked seasonal meals, baked goods, and seriously delicious snacks right to your door in the tri-state area. Everything's gluten-free friendly, mostly vegan, and made by real humans, not a factory. So whether you're postpartum, postmenopausal, or just done thinking about meal prep, go to thewildradish.com and use MTM20 for 20% off your first delivery. And another everyday favorite I swear by, our longtime sponsor, Ally Shoes. These are some of the most comfortable shoes I've ever worn. They're designed by women, for women, finally, right? And thoughtfully placed padding that actually supports your feet all day long. And I'm not the only one saying it either. InStyle, Pure Wow, and HuffPost all rave about them. Flats, boots, heels, you name it. And yes, there's a great origin story behind the brand, too. Head to ally.nyc, where listeners of the pod get $40 off your first pair of heels with code MOMTOMORE40, and 10% off your first pair of boots and flats with code MOMTOMORE10. Ally is reimagining how comfort and function support women every day, and I love that. We're back. Hey, if you are loving this episode, let the world know. Tap 5 stars wherever you listen for the podcast that is shaping culture. Thank you. Okay, ladies, I want to talk about the messy middle because life gets messy, as we all know it. So I'm going to flash forward. The kids are growing up and the house is getting quieter. And in Kristin's case, life threw you something completely unexpected. When did you first feel that pull that something was indeed shifting and changing inside of you and you're like, getting a little itchy, like what is coming next?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, honestly, I was home with the kids for about a dozen years. And my husband and I had started talking about separating. And at that point, I was also looking into returning to the corporate world. So those two things kind of came together.
Those are big.
They're big. And I had been at the new job about a year and a half. And he and I had just filed for our divorce. And it was at that time that, wow, life just really threw me a curveball. So already shifting, but you know, that Friday, the 13th in 2013, as I said, about a year and a half after those shifts was the remarkable change.
Right. Meghan, what about you?
So for me, I remember at the beginning you said I did not freak out, and I have to correct you because I totally freaked the F out. I basically was in full-blown denial, I think, that my youngest daughter was going to college. Between aging parents, menopause, empty nest, I felt so stuck. It was like this trifecta. And I was beating myself up. I'm like, they were driving to high school. You knew this was coming. But it was as if this end of an era, I could not get my head around. So that was sort of the catalyst for me that I thought to myself, okay, this is crazy. They're going on to their new adventures. They have these amazing jobs, amazing schools. They're playing sports. I've got to figure something out for me so that I can move forward and have exciting things to talk about. And so that was really my moment of clarity that I needed to do something. I needed to make that first step.
And just repeat again, because I know that there are women in our audience who are sort of living that stuck feeling right now. Talk about that a little more.
Yes, I think there's like a little bit of fear, especially for me having not worked. I did little odd jobs here, I volunteered, but it just all felt so overwhelming in the moment. I
Agreed.
just was completely, didn't know where to begin, didn't know where to turn. And I think it's a little bit of that fear, like I'm older now, can I do it? Would anybody hire me? What's going to bring me joy and light me up now that my kids have sort of gone and they were my purpose and my joy for so long? And my second daughter actually was pretty amazing. She was the one who pushed me. Just kept talking to me about, well, what lights you up? What makes you happy? And she pushed me to start the Instagram because she's like, that's an easy step where it's your own gig and just see how it goes. Because a lot of times one little step leads to something completely different. So I guess I would just say like that feeling is so sad and so lonely, and yet we're all going through it. So to talk about it to other people, and then also just to figure out what brings you joy and lights you up, and just make that first step to try and get involved in that.
It's first steps in taking the risk to reach out. Like Sharon, what you're doing, building that community and just having a voice for people is it's like really courageous actually, because it's a lot of work.
And thank you. But it was also nerve-wracking from my perspective as well, right? I think we can all relate. You get to a point where you're like, I haven't worked in years. I've lost my skill set. Does anyone even care what I think anymore? And you realize, yes, we all have a story. We all have something to say. And there are millions of women out there who are experiencing the exact same thing.
Completely.
And so that's why I think, each one of your stories is so powerful. All of our stories are so powerful. Every woman has a story to tell.
And the more you talk to women, the more you realize you're not alone.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
And I
Oh
think
my goodness.
when people actually, when you open up and you explain, like, I'm really feeling like this. Like, I mean, it's just me and my husband, and I've got to like figure something out. He's heading off to work. He's got his life. My kids have their life. And I sort of felt like I was left behind, if I'm being honest. And I thought to myself, you got to get out there and do something that's going to make you happy and bring you joy, and not just sit here and wallow in it. But it is very daunting. And I think, who cares? Just go do it.
Go for it. And just as we're proud of our kids, they want to be proud of us too. And they want to be happy for us.
That's
They
true.
want to see us moving and shaking.
Right. And I also think it sets an example, right?
Completely.
To see
100%.
mom sort of retool, reshape, reemerge. I think that is a powerful lesson for our children in resilience, reinvention, figuring things out and trying something new. And if it doesn't work, okay, you pivot, but trying to find that lane. I think that exploration is so important in the long term.
So important. And Kristin and I were talking to somebody else, and we were saying there's some kind of crazy stat that more women in their 50s now are starting their own businesses than ever in the history.
I love that
which
stat.
is pretty fabulous when you break it
Yeah.
down. How awesome,
It's so awesome. And I mean, it just gives you power. It gives you the knowledge that you can make a difference too, right? Not just the rest of your family, and don't be left behind, right?
Yeah, nobody wants to be left behind,
No,
people.
yeah.
No, let's keep up.
I also want to point out to the women listening to this that you have so much experience that you probably don't even realize. And then taking that time, asking your best friend, say, what do you like about me? Like, why are you my friend? Tell me some things about me that I might not know. And I think you can ask your friends that. You can ask your kids that. And I think sometimes the answers will totally astound you, but they're insightful because they're looking at you from a way that you just can't look at yourself.
Oh, 100%.
Completely.
Even when they're analyzing you too much or saying things you don't want to
you mean
hear.
that happens too, right?
It really does. But you know what? They want you to be happy. They want to be a part of that. They want the role model there for their own growth.
Well,
too.
and there was another thing we were talking about. There was a Reese Witherspoon, I think it was just a post, and she was helping a young girl try and figure out a job. And it really resonated with me. She was like, don't chase your dreams, chase your talents. So think about what you're good at and what people come to you for, or what your kids come to you for, or what you are good at and / enjoy, because I think that's where you will ultimately find the success. Because we all have strengths and weaknesses. I got plenty of weaknesses.
Doesn't that remind you of our recent episode with Susan Bender? Sharon was just talking about it. It just dropped, and her Finding Fabulous. What was it? Right? Find the skills that actually you enjoy, that come easy to you, because somebody somewhere is going to value that too.
Yes.
And that's where you're going to shine.
Right. I love that. Thank you. I also love the fact that it was your daughter who said, Mom, try Instagram.
She was, and she knows that I do not like Instagram at all, and I'm never on
The
Instagram.
technology is not the
Technology, and plus I'm just not an Instagram scroller, but I was like, you know what? Maybe I can just do that. Maybe I can go for it. So you're right. Yeah, that was a pretty awesome initial push she gave me.
It was great. There you go. Kristin, I want to make sure that we have time to talk about what you went through 12 years ago, because it is part of your story now that cannot be separated from who you are now. So take us there, please, if you don't mind. What happened and what did that road back look like for you?
Yeah, thank you. Going back, as I said, I was in the corporate world again for about a year and a half. And I had literally just filed for divorce from my husband.
The timing is just
it's just
with this.
So
one.
I'm going to say it's Friday the
crazy.
13th because it was in 2013, and we had literally been in the courts on Wednesday. So this is crazy time. I'm running around with a work project on a Friday. I'm running around trying to do back to school stuff with the kids because, as I said, it's September, and I'm running an errand for my soon to be ex-husband, trying to find furniture at a friend's house for him. So a lot going on. And clearly, I guess I needed a break from all the chaos, and my friend did too. So I met a friend at a restaurant, and just kind of strolling through the bar to get to the table, I turned my ankle, and I ended up with a second-degree sprain. Fine, okay, simple diagnosis. And within the week's time was when I contracted, as you had said, strep A bacterial infection that then turned into necrotizing fasciitis.
Wow.
Which is what, for the average person, it's like...
It's really, they call it the flesh-eating disease, if you want to put it in common terms.
Right.
I saw the changes. I felt the changes. Within that week's time, by that next Thursday, I was in sepsis, as it turned out. But all I knew is my body was shutting down. I mean, I couldn't move.
she didn't realize that sort of at this point.
Such a,
It was frightening.
The speed of that is extraordinary.
The speed was astounding. My poor oldest daughter spent the final night I was home as the disease was taking over, and I didn't realize, but in so much pain here, she was trying to prepare for a sophomore year in high school test, and the dear just stayed with me in the family room all night to comfort me, and couldn't sleep, of course, because of the pain I was in. So I just give a big, huge hug to her for that. And by Thursday, I was being, rushed to the hospital. And I just remember it like this delightful experience. It was like a Grey's Anatomy scene. I'm rushing, I'm kind of like fading out, and later find out friends are like, no, it was such a serious, long experience in ER, et cetera.
Wow. So. Thank you for sharing that. What or how did that experience reshape the way you think about what you want to do with your time in your life going forward?
Yeah, that's great. Really, what ended up happening was it was a life or limb situation. Yeah. So I did lose my leg to this condition, but sepsis is a very serious thing. And they were able to save my life.
Yeah, you're really lucky to be alive.
Really.
Because, a lot of people don't survive sepsis.
Right, that's true. Also, like what originally was like a sprained ankle.
Sprained ankle.
That's just crazy.
It's crazy. So I guess it was a long recovery to realizing what had happened. It was actually my husband at the time who broke the news to me that when I finally woke up.
Nobody wanted to tell her, because imagine it's your mom, it's your daughter, it's your sister.
Right.
And so you can tell the story, but she sort of is cute when she tells it. She's like, every time, because she was in a coma and then she woke up and she'd sort of be like, well, what's going on?
Right? For me to come to realization.
Scurry out of the room and be like, I'll go get you water.
God love them. My sisters, my mom, my brother, whatever. They would go out because who wants to share that news with somebody?
Right. But she wasn't lucid enough to know that she didn't actually have a leg.
Oh my God.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yes. So to answer your question, a lot of gratefulness.
Right.
Gratitude to my then husband for sharing the news with me. Gratitude for everybody coming around. It was such a testament to building community. I mean, obviously, my friends and family flocked to be with me. And by the way, did everything in the book to help. And I think that's what's instilled in me, this idea that when you build community with strangers included, meaning people you haven't met up to that point, and you just do what you can. It can be the simplest skill or talent that you have, or just the kindness in your heart, which is huge, not a just. You cannot put a price on it.
Right.
And that's kind of what I want to do now with whatever people are going through. It doesn't have to be post-trauma. It can be just a simple life transition.
True.
You do have an amazing attitude.
You really do.
She really is a ray of sunshine. I know you're not going to say this about yourself, but it's inspirational, really, every single day. And I don't take for granted some of the things that I used to take for granted. I mean, just getting up in the middle of the night and grabbing a glass of water or filling up your glass of water, So she won't say it, but I think that if you could put all of that positivity and that sunshine in a jar, yes, you
Maybe
would.
that's the product.
There you go. A lot of money, sister.
Sunshine in a jar. I love that. Thank you for sharing that, Kristin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Christine.
So I want to share with everyone that I met both of you during this phase where you were playing with ideas and no doubt throwing out ideas, and you're like, maybe not.
The baby wasn't born yet, right?
Exactly. The baby wasn't born yet. So what was going through your collective minds?
Well, I think that when we came together, a few people had said to us, literally just friends of mine, friends of hers who happened to be in the same room with us at an event or at something, before we even thought about a podcast, were like, wait, you guys have a great banter. Would you ever think about doing a podcast? And we were sort of like, no, I mean, there's a million great podcasts out there. Like, I don't think so. And then the more people said it, we were like, well, why not? Why not give it a try and talk to women who are experiencing a version of what we're experiencing and get their story. We both love stories. We both love life experiences, hearing about them, supporting women, sort of all these things that we feel like came together in this concept of finding women that have found their fabulous. Just that feeling, like you said, that brings them joy, that lights them up, that brings them purpose once either their kids have gone or they're at the end of a career and they're looking for something different. It's really applicable to everybody.
True.
And just listen to each other and wait for that door or window to open, because a lot of ideas that might come your way are not even from you, right?
That's true. When did you guys decide to partner up? Was that something from the get-go that you thought, hey, we need to be a team?
I think it was when literally Meghan was trying to interview me for her next moves. And I was like, I just want conversation. Let's just talk. And then the banter was incredible from the
banter
start.
was incredible. Yes. And I think it just made sense. And from my perspective, starting her next moves and having this little Instagram page that I sort of stopped really enjoying posting on, I felt like it would be nice to have a partner in crime. It would be nice to have somebody to bounce ideas off of. And so it was really pretty much from the get-go. We just hit it off. Yeah.
And I think that's important, that you don't have to go it alone, right? There is power and beauty and so much conversation, when you find someone that you're so simpatico with, that you can team up with them and create whatever it is your next chapter is going
you
to
can
be.
split up the responsibilities, but it's just more fun.
Yes. It's been super fun.
Were there any ideas that you put it on the table and you're like, I don't think so. I mean, in the blue sky process of what are we going to do together?
That's a good one. I don't know I don't think so. I think there's been a lot of mistakes made along the way, and the learning,
especially technical
in terms of
mistakes.
technology,
I can relate to that.
is scary. Like our kids are like, stop being afraid of the computer. Like the only thing I'm not afraid of
not
is the
to
mic.
blow up. Well, yes, it did when we were growing up. So actually,
You never know, right? But no, I think that was kind of the interesting piece. It evolved. It wasn't linear. It went in this direction and then that direction. And we started out with the concept of our daughters because we have 6 daughters between us and we're very close to our girls. And it was like supporting women. And then it evolved into maybe it makes more sense to talk to women our age that are going through what we're going through. Tie in generations. So it was more of an ebb and a flow, I would say, than really that we thought of something and then negged it. What do you think?
But I would agree, because my last job in the corporate world has been with assisted living and memory care company, a wonderful company, Maplewood Senior Living and Inspire. And I think that for me, too, the generations piece that Meghan just mentioned was important, because I had been exposed to generations and our senior population. Right. And so to tie in learning from our daughters and learning from our mothers and having those conversations seemed appealing. Yes, it still is. It's still a part of who we are as midlife women. But really, if we're really trying to focus on ourselves a little bit, then let's focus on ourselves. We're in our midlife space and it's exciting. It's a beginning.
Proud of it and give ourselves that permission
100%
to do that.
Exactly. Give ourselves permission. I like that.
All right. We're going to stick with that. Giving ourselves permission. We love that. Let's talk a little about the hidden mom resume. I think we touched on it at the beginning, but give me like 1 or 2 things. What did being a mom teach you about yourself that no job or course ever could have?
Wow. I think that your heart is so incredibly fragile. Like when it comes to your kids, And just, I mean, every mom feels this. It's not just a stay-at-home mom. But I feel like when you're there for the ins and the outs and the everyday and just, I think I just sort of realized like just,
How vulnerable we are.
yes, that's
We're
better
so
said.
strong to
Incredibly
get the
strong.
job done and all that it requires, but it's such a vulnerability too. And then the kids grow up and then they have even more mindfulness about them.
Right.
So then they look back and we talk about things and now they're adults and it's just the whole progression. It
Right.
really is a vulnerable position to
It's a
be in.
vulnerable spot, but I think we also realize we do things as a mom. You just jump in and you do it. You don't even think twice about it. And you realize you are creating a skill set that was maybe already there or you're building on it without even thinking about it.
I couldn't agree more. I would tell anybody who has stayed at home, that is the most incredible job. You do not need to go back to any level of work to hopefully know that. Granted, I got older, but between working the first time and returning after motherhood, stay-at-home motherhood, it's incredible, the different perspective. You realize how much women do in general and those that are moms. It's an incredible job.
It is. And I think that you also, now that I'm thinking about it, you also learn, I think, about relationships because you're managing all these different personalities and all these children.
Well, and all their friends.
So,
too.
and all their friends.
And their friends' families. And
their
the
friends'
sports
families and
teams
expectations. And right. It's sort of, you're doing the same thing, I guess, if you're sort of running a team or you're on a team and you're in a work environment. But there is a lot of crossover when you actually step back and think about it.
True. That we do so much. And I think I feel that I am, just speaking for myself, stronger and more resilient and have a skill set that like I never knew I had before.
That's it.
Just from being a parent.
And you do.
Yeah, we all do.
You don't.
Everyone.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. You
everyone does.
definitely do.
So what would you say to the woman who is exactly where you were, a few years ago, maybe searching, uncertain, maybe a little embarrassed that she hasn't figured it out yet, but that's okay. What would you say to her?
I would say give yourself grace like you would a friend and just be open with people you trust because as soon as you have conversation and community, it is amazing what comes your way.
Yeah.
If you just put yourself out there a little bit, it's just step by step. It's just little baby steps.
Little baby steps. Yep.
Yes. And I completely agree with that. I think try and figure out what you're good at and what you enjoy and combine those two. And then, like Kristin said, take the first step. I never believed in any of this like woo-woo, like, oh, put yourself out there and the universe will connect you and all these things will happen. I was always kind of like, okay, whatever. But I'll tell you, I totally am a believer now. Once you put yourself out there, the doors that open, the interesting women that we've met, the stories we've heard, the random coincidences that are a little bit, I think, of the universe guiding us to where
and
we're
all those
supposed to be.
interactions are life education. You don't need to go spend money on a course. You could. It's great too. But it's all learning.
Right.
And the support. I think that's the other thing. It's been amazing, the support and the love that we've received from a lot of other women who are on this journey. I wasn't necessarily expecting that, but I feel like that has been such a gift and such a bright spot for us.
Such a pleasant surprise.
I think just the overall awesomeness and power of the female community that we're all in and, lean on those people, right, that we've known for years or lean on the people that we recently just met. When you click, right? You clearly know when you click with somebody.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. You know that energy.
Well, and female friendships, I mean, we say all the time, it's been proven. It's an amazing thing for your spirit and for
your hormones.
Your
for your body
serotonin
chemistry.
level goes up. I mean, spend time with your girlfriends and the ones that really love and support you. It's like amazing. I mean, it's just better than any medication out there in a lot of ways.
That's why those girl trips and humor. Because when you get together on the girl trips,
there's a lot of laughter.
That's right.
A lot of laughter.
You come back feeling refreshed. But do surround yourself with people who allow you that, right?
I agree
The
with
openness and the laughter.
Touche on that. So we're unfortunately coming to the end of our time together. You guys are so awesome. I'm so thrilled you've been with me today. I have a question that I ask all of the extraordinary moms that I have the privilege of interviewing. And I'm going to let each of you answer it separately. So, Kristin, I'll start with you. Since this is the Mom to More podcast, Kristin Price Hocker, what is your more?
Sharing stories. I want to be open to talking about my own, because there are some things that happened along the way. But I want to really hear what other women have gone through and what they're doing now, and just encourage that. I don't have any grand plans. I just want to keep sharing and learning.
Powerful. Thank you. All right. So, Meghan,
Okay.
what
So
is your more?
I think mine is similar, but a little bit different. I think that all of the conversations that we have with these women, the interesting lives they've lived, the perspectives they add, and the support that they've given, I think does really fill me and kind of fills my heart and makes me realize that there's so many different people out there living such interesting, difficult, hard, amazing, wonderful lives. So you can kind of get stuck in your little town or your little world. And I think that it's been great to open that up a little bit and just hear about some amazing things that women are getting done and doing out there.
I love that, Meeks. Can I add one more thing? Actually, I do have a desire to start a foundation. I run one now. I started a 501c3 10 years ago for Maplewood. But I really do want to start helping women through transitions, because there are a lot of really hard moves that people have to make, and women in particular. And I would love to be able to help them through that.
And be a support.
Through
Absolutely.
emotional and funding.
Yeah, I like that. Thank you for adding that. I appreciate that. Okay, so please tell our listeners where they can find you, where they can find your show, your podcast, Finding Fabulous, online, what platforms, everything. Folks, everything is going to be in the show notes.
Okay, Finding Fabulous is everywhere you get your podcasts.
Yay.
We are on Instagram and TikTok at Finding Fabulous Pod. I do still carry on with my separate Instagram at Kristin Pecan. That is not the nut, but literally PCAN.
Because she can.
Yes, and I would really like to keep that, getting back in touch with the limb loss community, because that's been an
Yes, that's very important.
and an important model for what we do.
Right. And then I still have Her Next Moves on Instagram. Feel free to follow that and DM any interesting tips or,
Topics you
midlife
want to hear about?
topics. Yeah.
I love that. Thank you. Ladies, and I am honored to call you friends. Thank you for today. Just what each of you bring to the table, your energy, your insights, what you have created together with the show, Finding Fabulous. I just want to thank you for your time. I'm grateful for your friendship, and thank you for being here today.
Oh, thank you so
you,
much
Sharon.
for having us. And
This is
congrats to you,
amazing.
too. You're creating an amazing community, and you're really inspiring all these moms to get back at it.
This wraps another episode of Mom to More. If this conversation sparked something in you, hit follow or subscribe and leave a quick 5-star review to help more moms discover the show that's shaping culture. And remember, you already possess the skills and the experience you need to start on this journey, because reinvention doesn't have an age limit.